few years ago when I was living in Alabama, I realized something. I wasn't influencing any non-believers because I wasn't hanging around any non-believers. All my friends were church people. And I know that's shocking, right? You mean you can't influence people that you never are around. So I prayed and asked God, God, would you help me develop some friendships with people who are far from you? Well, about 2 weeks later, I was putting my boat into the Alabama River, and this guy in this kayak comes paddling up to me, and he says, hey, I'm new to the area. Are there any good fishing areas around this area? And I told him, let me think about it. And I went and I parked my truck, and on the way back down to the boat ramp, I felt the Holy Spirit nudge me. Invite him to go fishing with you. Now, I'm not usually in the habit of inviting total strangers into my boat, but I thought, Lord, if this is you, I want to do it. So I told him, hey, I'm headed down the river to fish and for a few hours, and do you want to come? His eyes lit up and he said, man, yes, let me load up my kayak in the back of my truck. And then he looked around, he saw a tree. He says, never mind, let me just tie this kayak up to this tree. And he begins to get into my boat. And as he's stepping up into the boat, he blurts out, I'm so glad that you asked me to go fishing with you because I haven't caught a blankety blank fish since I moved here. And at that moment I was like, yes, a non-believer that I get to hang out with. And we fished for about 3 hours, and I asked him all kinds of questions about his life. I found out he was an Army recruiter from Florida, and he was married and had a little girl, loved to fish. And the whole time he's talking, he's dropping 4-letter words like he's getting paid per cuss word. He even threw in some words I'm pretty sure that he invented. And then about 3 hours into us fishing and sharing our story, he stops and he says, I realize I haven't asked you what you do for a living. And in that moment, to be honest, I was tempted to say I'm a teacher or I'm in sales, anything but the truth. But I said, well, actually, I'm an associate pastor at a church here in town. And he literally slaps his hand over his mouth and says, oh man, I'm so sorry about my language. And I just laughed and I said, man, don't worry about it. I'm not offended in the least. I just want to get to know you. And over the next year, we kept fishing together about once or twice a month. About 8 months in, he actually called me and asked me for some marriage advice. And then 2 months later, he showed up for a Saturday fishing trip holding a Bible in his hand. And he looked at me and he said, hey, would you help me read this and help me to understand it? And I began the process of discipling him. And I thought, wow, all of this happened just because I invited a guy into my boat and took the time to get to know him. Here's the bigger point. Connecting with people who don't believe the same way that we do is essential. Jesus didn't just hang out with the already convinced. He spent time with people who were far away from God. When we do the same, we're honoring people, not judging them. It opens the door for real friendship and opportunities to share our faith. And honestly, one of the greatest tools that you can use to connect with people that don't believe like you is asking them questions. Everyone wants to feel known, seen, and heard. You don't need to have all the answers. You just need to be curious about their story. The Bible even tells us this in 1 Peter 3. It says, always be ready to give an answer for the hope that you have, but do it with gentleness and with respect. That's how trust is built, and that's how real conversations about faith happen. So when we treat non-believers with kindness, patience, and respect, we're not only living out the heart of Christianity, we are showing them the love of Jesus in a way that they can actually experience. Because at the end of the day, it's not about winning arguments and being right. It's about loving people.